You're listening to The Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
And now is the time, though you have to have done your homework previously, but now is the time when the scouting really, really matters. Now you're getting to the big conference games, plus you have the bowl games, plus you have the Senior Bowl. You need to really have your evals. By my guesstimation, this is actually one of the real smart moves. They are going to drop the old napalm and start over. Right? Aaron Rodgers is not going to be back. They're going to have a new head coach. They're going to have a new general manager. They might well have a new logo next year. It's all going to look different. And with that, why would you give a guy a chance to see something when you haven't done the legwork of what changes you want to make along the path? And if you do it last week or 2 weeks of the season, you're not getting really a true sense because you're not playing against teams.
To get the rest of what Doug said, podcast it by searching The Doug Gottlieb Show. And
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you could pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to pick it, and our running back coach didn't take the pass. Biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Box Eye Care. It's a manic Monday. We have Kenan and Smith joining us. We're going to talk about the ugly, because I don't think there was any good or any bad. We'll do complete this statement and what went wrong on Saturday and more.
I'm afraid to do this, but the phone lines are open. Empowerment Strategies and Solutions hotline is open for business, 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. That's the Empowerment Strategies and Solutions hotline. I figured, X, you and I intentionally really didn't talk to you because I wanted us to have just raw reaction to that game. But, you're welcome to call us. You're welcome to give us your thoughts, your comments, your reactions, your questions in the live stream. I do have a lot to say about this game, but most of it is about the ugly. We had a lot of confidence going into that game, but things changed quickly. But it's sort of like, the old bruise. You have a bruise on your X, and, all of a sudden the color goes away and it looks like you're healed. And then somebody hits that spot again and that bruise jumps right back up. Well, that's what happened Saturday. I told someone yesterday at church, I said, you know how they say X, well, he has a type, and they describe what type of a lady that a man likes or whatever. He likes this, whatever it is. I said, Alabama has a type that they don't like. They don't like women who are physical. They don't like women who run the ball downhill. They don't like women who can coach and adjust. So, and they don't like teams coming off of bye weeks. So Alabama definitely has a type. Well, we got a great show lined up for you, so we invite you to get in on the conversation. I'll give you my thoughts and all that, and X will give you his. I will probably go more into my coach's breakdown more than normal, even inside of the plays. Several things that are just overwhelmingly frustrating. And DeBoer gonna have some tough decisions to make in the offseason. Remember that this is the day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. X.
Man, in a weekend of upsets just around college football, Saturday night in Norman was not one I was expecting. As you stated, we haven't talked at all about it. We normally text throughout the game, and we didn't say a word. Man, I've been a Bama fan a true Bama fan since 2001 when I really got into the sport, and that might have been the second most disappointing loss that I've watched. That was a lot worse than Vandy. Only ULM Monroe is probably worse to me. Just one because of the expectations, how I felt going into that game, and then the end result, because that was a complete team failure, from the offense to the defense to the special teams. At the end of the day, I stopped watching the game after the Ryan Williams horrible call that might have given us some life with 14 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. I was just done after that.
Yeah, and I don't know that we beat them if Ryan Williams gets the worst call. And I believe I can stand on this. That may be the worst call I have ever seen in my life, because it wasn't an action judgment type of call. It was, they lined up, you looked at them, you saw that, and that is a at the snap call that is determined. If this guy does this, then it's a penalty. That's not a let's see what happens type of call. He looked down the line of scrimmage. Ryan Williams was the only guy between him and the offensive line. The only guy. It was obvious that the other two guys were off the line of scrimmage. His hand should have been on the flag, and the moment it did, he should have thrown that. But you could see him turn and look and watch the play and realize he's throwing it to him, so it might just be a penalty if he touches this ball. Right?
Right.
But this is what nobody's saying. It was a penalty either way, right? If he's covered up, it's a penalty either way.
Right.
The penalty is he's an ineligible receiver downfield.
Right.
Because that's the only way he could
get the snap.
Yeah. He can't. The only way he could illegally touch it is either he goes out of bounds, X, or he was an ineligible lineman downfield. Forget his position title in that formation. Based on what that official called, he was the lineman. He would be like an tackle over, pretty much, because you had Pritchett. Then he would have been the next lineman, and then the other guy would have been the end man on the line of scrimmage. That's what that official called. So it should have been, instead of them calling it illegal touching, it should have been ineligible receiver downfield who touched the ball. I mean, It is the craziest thing I've ever seen. But worst call I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I can't. I was trying to rack my brain to think of anything even close to that bad. Would Alabama have won the game? I don't know. I don't think they would have. But it sure would have been fun to watch how they responded from that point on. And you robbed a young man of an absolute, maybe his best catch of the year. And that
100%.
official should be that official should be reprimanded. That's the same crew that got together in the Texas game and changed a pass interference call, which you can't review, but they did. They reviewed it on the big screen. Same crew.
Yeah, and they talked about it during the course of the after it happened in the game. When the guy that looks over the plays during officiating was like, yeah, it's not reviewable, and they go, well, they reviewed that call against Texas, Georgia. So that crew is a horrible crew. I don't know if it was the same guy that made the call or what in that game, but like you said, it doesn't. If Alabama comes back or not, I wanted to see what would have happened. But at that point, it was over, and it was a rough night for, like I said, in all phases. The play calling, there's no on the fly adjustments with this coaching staff by any means. It is either it's working and we're good, or it's not working and we're in for a world of trouble.
Yeah, and let me say that this is it's one thing to have a game plan and not be able to adjust. It was worse than that. What happened Saturday to me, offensively and defensively, well, more offensively, is that we have a script. Every offensive coach scripts 20 to 25 plays that they're going to run, that they want to run. It was as if we didn't care what they did. We stuck with our script through. We didn't even get through the whole script. We only ran 20-something plays in the first half, right? Or some crazy number. I mean, we didn't even get through the script. And I know a lot of people have said Jalen, and please, I'm not making any excuses for Jalen. Jalen was right there with the rest of the team. And a lot of people are saying stuff about the running backs and things like that. Let me tell you what Venables did, Ax. Venables put in a defense that made it look like they were taking away the dive. But they weren't. The only guy who was playing the dive was the defensive end that Jalen was reading. So when we would call that play, Jalen would make the right read based on that one guy. But Venables had put other things, a spy. The spy was a strong safety or wolf bandit, whatever we call that position here. And so when Jalen would pull it, they always had a scraping linebacker come over the top who was not playing the dive, who was actually playing the quarterback, and a spy. That's why it was always at least two guys waiting on him. All right? That's what teams had figured out. When we would run the ball with the running back, we were getting 4 to 5 yards a chunk. And then he would go right back to the quarterback. And it looked like Jalen was making the right read all night long. And it looked like he wasn't because Venables, and we still haven't adjusted. Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, I'm like, I see this sitting here after 2 drives. Now, I will say Jalen didn't press the hole. Jalen made Dupree and Proctor look bad early. If he presses the hole, instead of trying to make big runs, he gets 5 or 6 on the first run. He gets 10 to 12 on the second run. Instead, he tried to make big plays instead of taking what they were giving him early. But there was a lot of things that went wrong in this game, a lot of ugly. We'll be back on the other side of X to get to Robert. We'll add Kennedy Smith III to the conversation. You guys are welcome. I know we need some therapy this morning. I dressed, my wife and I, we dressed in all black yesterday, X. Because it was obvious that the Tide had a funeral service on Saturday and was buried by Oklahoma. So we'll be back on the other side to keep it going. Go ahead.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We have an accident Highway 82 eastbound between Old Montgomery Highway and Bradley Road. And we have some long-term road construction 15th Street southbound at 2nd Avenue. And we have some long-term road construction.
Same-day delivery with a free 14-day trial of Target Circle 360 to make planning even easier. Save more on hosting. Happier holidays from Target. Restrictions apply.
Got timberland in West Alabama or East Mississippi? North River Timber Company has you covered. Since 2011, Courtney White, a registered forester, along with his expert team, have been managing timberland and harvesting timber across 4 West Alabama counties. They offer comprehensive timber management plans, reforestation services, and appraisals. Courtney White says timber is like money in the bank. Don't let your investment go.
Be making the plays, you'll be making the bets. And finally getting the sports glory you deserve. The Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. Play the game.
Hey, I'm Martin Houston, and I want to tell you about exciting news happening at Box Eye Care. They've moved to their new location, bringing you a brand new lab, stylish new frames, and a fresh look just for you. Enjoy their expanded frame inventory, competitive prices, and faster service, all with the same great level of service you've come to know and trust. Discover this full-service eye care at Box Eye Care's new location. With their in-house lab, they offer unbeatable value and one of the largest frame collections in town. Schedule your eye exam today and walk out with new glasses in less than an hour in most cases. Visit boxeyecare.com. That's boxeyecare.com or call 205-342-0660. That's 205-342-0660. Visit them at 5003 Oscar Baxter Drive. That's Box Eye Care. Your vision, our priority.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. As we kick off the second quarter, we have Kennington Smith III joining us. How you doing this morning, Kennington?
Good. How are you?
As good as I can be on this Monday morning.
Hey, before we jump back into the game, there's a quick note that was dropped off, posted by one of our callers regarding the wet field. Jason Rutledge said the field seam was wet. They were sliding, trying to get traction. That actually probably cost us one touchdown. I think that the trick screenplay, probably goes to the house with Bernard if he doesn't lose his footing. And that's an old trick, man. The question is, once again, I don't know who the equipment person is for Alabama, but I wonder, did they take different cleats? Did they take different screw in? That happened to us against Penn State in the first half. We were sliding all over the field. At halftime, some guys did it in the first half. At halftime, every single player went from the shorter screw in to a longer screw in, so it dug into the ground a little bit more. With these new fields today, I don't know if you do that, or I don't know how they do that if that happens today. But anyway, I can say from when I was playing, most cleats are now molded. So, and I don't know if that's changed from when Simeon played back to when Simeon played to and now, but most cleats now are molded. Not at that level, I don't think, are they? I mean, I'm sure. I hope that. Well, I guess they may be since they had that rubber feel. But anyway, I just digress because you have to be able to adjust to that, and we never did. But we didn't do a lot of adjustment. Kennington, it was a rough night. We usually have the good, bad, and ugly. Kennington, we just got the ugly, man. It's on you.
Yeah. It's. I'm like stuttering because like I'm still trying to kind of, I guess, figure out what I'm trying to say about what happened in that game and what this team has been this season. It's kind of one of those things where Alabama goes into a game and like it's kind of become that cliche, like no result will surprise me either way. What happens in the game? That's just kind of how up and down this team has been. Unfortunately, it's a road game loss that has become very familiar this year. Turnovers, key third down conversions by the other team, unpreparedness in terms of the game plan. This has been a common theme when Alabama goes on the road this year. A lot of times catching the team off of a bye. So in hindsight, it was something that maybe we could have saw coming. But there was just so much momentum around the team. It just felt like this was finally the moment that they turned the corner, and they didn't. And that's really disappointing. And that, sets the stage for an Iron Bowl on Saturday that just got really, really interesting considering what Auburn did against Texas A&M.
And let me say this really quick, Kennington. We're surprised because we bought into what they did after the Tennessee loss. But the reality of it is they have played 3 teams away from Bryant-Denny, and Georgia messed up. And I'm going back and looking. Georgia came out with intentions to pass the ball on us, not run it. Mm-hmm. Okay? And then we jumped on them. They came out passing the ball, and we jumped on them. The other 3 teams that we've lost, it's been the same game. Quarterback run or physical running game, physical offensive line play, physical defensive line play. And we didn't beat we beat South Carolina at home, but it was the same game. So those 4 games are really the same team, same game plan, same shot, and we haven't done anything. We're still doing the same thing that we did against Vanderbilt. We need to get to Robert. Robert, you're in with Xavier, Martin, and Kennington. What's on your mind, sir?
Well, one thing I do know about this season, I want the old college football back. I don't like this new college football. Go, take me back to 2011 and get Nick Saban average out. Hey, man, it's 2011 all over again. We're done with all this new college football business. The old college football worked well for me. Hey, I don't understand why everybody didn't like it back then, but I was fine with it. But oh well, whatever. The other thing I hate about this season is that Tim Brando gets to say, "See, I told you so," and it doesn't matter the reason. He'll just say, "See, I told you so." I despise that notion that he gets to say that. I'm surprised I haven't heard it on some podcast or something yet.
Yeah.
But it's like you guys said, it's been disappointing. It has been disappointing the way we've lost. We've been out physical and no adjustment of any kind, and it's just been really frustrating to watch. And the worst part, we're losing to teams that are eminently beatable. I mean, we're not talking about, 2019 LSU, some juggernaut, or Georgia back in 2020 or something like that. We're talking about mediocre teams at best that we're not beating, and that's really disappointing.
Yeah, Keenan, I'll let you respond.
Yeah, to his point, you think about this Oklahoma game, the statistical anomalies that happened in this game were just like inexplicable. Oklahoma has given up a school record 41 sacks entering Saturday, bottom 5 in tackles for loss allowed. Alabama doesn't record either a sack or a tackle for loss in the first half. They finished with 1 sack. Oklahoma, terrible time of possession team, dominated time of possession. Terrible turnover margin team, dominated in turnover margin. Terrible running team, ran for, close to, if not above, 300 yards in the game. I mean, they completely turned their season on its head against Alabama. So it was just kind of a perfect storm in that way. I think when we talk about adjustments, that's a word that I've heard a lot. I think offensively, that initial game plan was just really head-scratching. 8 Milroe runs in the first quarter, most of them going for negative yardage, not attacking Oklahoma's secondary, which has given up big plays every single game this season. It just felt like it wasn't a buttoned-up operation offensively to start, and that really just kind of set Alabama back, in addition to a lot of errors, too. So Wasn't a lot to adjust to on offense because the initial game plan just wasn't great to start, and it really just kind of set the whole thing in motion.
Kennington, you didn't hear what I said, but it was the same. It was the LSU game plan, and they anticipated that. And I explained it earlier, Kennington. They actually had a defensive scheme, and I verified it with a defensive coordinator yesterday, that they were going to make it look like he should keep the quarterback should keep it. Okay. But they were spying Jalen in the run game, and the linebacker was scraping over the top. And if the DBs read run, they were just letting their guys go. They were coming. We could have ran a fake quarterback read option pass to that third receiver, and they'd have been running wide open down the field. But we never adjusted to it, and we just Venables. And this is what I told the guy yesterday. I said Venables did to us what he did to Saban in 2016 with Tua. He absolutely made us look like we had no business being on the field offensively.
Yeah. Well, you knew Venables off of a bye week was going to be potentially dangerous. And they did have a masterful game plan of limiting Jalen Miller running the ball. To your point, there are so many times where, Jalen keeps it and there isn't really anything up the middle, or instead of trying to turn a couple of yards up the middle, he bounces it to the outside, and it just felt like there were 2 or 3 guys waiting for him at every moment. Again, another game where the running backs still underutilized. Jalen Miller, 15 carries, 7 yards. Jam Miller, Justice Haynes combined for 15 carries. I actually thought the running backs, when they touched the ball, actually did some pretty good things. But as the game just kind of went away from Alabama, they really couldn't utilize the running back aspect of the run game. But I felt like they were doing good things when they had the opportunity to do so. I think for me, the biggest thing that, again, I come back to is the fact that Oklahoma defensively strong against the run, but against the pass, one of the worst teams at giving up explosive plays, and there just wasn't that element consistently in the game. I know there were some things that went against Alabama, but I thought they would have tried to come out and vertically attack them down the field, and that's not what we saw.
The line didn't help Bill Roy out a whole lot either. That was another glaring flaw. Which probably couldn't pass the ball worth anything because the line just wasn't holding up. We're on the very cusp. Right now, this defense is.
Hold on. And I agree. But we did not go to the pass game until we had to pass the game, and no one can block in that situation. Now, the offensive line wasn't great to begin with, right, X? They weren't great to begin with.
Well, I mean, when you talk about the pass game, we did try to incorporate it early, and we had Ryan with a drop, 2 drops by Dupree. Jeremy Bernard, I don't know if it was the lights, he saw a ghost, whatever. Because if he catches that one, he might have been up the side. You talking about the trick play. If he catches that one, he's probably up the sideline on that one. I mean, just nobody around him and flinches. If it could go wrong Saturday, it went wrong. Kobe Prentice, not like just whiffing, doesn't even attempt to block the cornerback, leads to the first pick. Out of Jalen's 3 picks, the second one is the only one I just fully blame him on. And there was and what made that one so that was the lack of effort on getting the guy down to the ground, which looks even worse. But the first pick, that ain't on him. The last pick, he gets absolutely destroyed as he's trying to throw the ball on a 4th down play, and it goes straight up in the air again. The whole thing was horrible.
This is the worst. This is the worst season since right now since 2010 when we lost the 3. And if we lose to Auburn, which right now, man, I'd say that's 50-50. It'll be the worst this season since 2007 when Nick Saban first got there. So I'm really in trouble right now of how bad this season's going to end up. We got it. I mean, if we win beat Auburn, and right now it's 50-50 right now. It's going to be it can be an even worse season. Real quick, what are the odds of making the playoff? I know it's ridiculous, but hey, let's throw it out there anyway. All right, guys.
30% chance with a lot of miracles. We'll be back on the other side, and we'll talk about that Auburn game. But Kennington and Xavier, I want you guys to think about this. Explain the defensive game plan that we had versus a team who was down to their 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th wide receiver. Explain to me why we come in a 3-3, 3-2, 6. Why were we playing? I don't even want to put any words in your mouth. I want you two to tell me how we had that game plan, because we've dogged the offensive game plan. It was obviously bad, but was the defensive game plan just as bad? Because that was information that we had going into that game. We knew what they had offensively. We didn't know what Venables would run after 2 weeks, and he modified his defense. They came in totally dependent on what they did that night and still did it. I'll have you guys talk about it on the other side.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We have an accident at Highway 82 eastbound between Old Montgomery Highway and Bradley Road. And we have some long-term road construction 15th Street southbound at 2nd Avenue. And we have some long-term...
Home for Alabama basketball. Presented in part by BMW of Tuscaloosa and by Pearl River Resort in Choctaw, Mississippi.
Dixie Battery Supply takes care of all of your battery needs. Find the commercial batteries you're after and never feel powerless again. Come check out our Northport and Tuscaloosa locations or call us at 205-758-9190. And once again, power up all your devices by using Dixie Battery Supply, DixieBatterySupply.com. They all
$100 in value, so you'll save big on 3 great gifts. Hurry into Verizon this Black Friday. Service plan required for watch and tablet. Up to $1,900 value based on phone, watch, and tablet. Trade in and additional terms apply. See Verizon.com for details.
Visit the pharmacy at Midtown. That's the pharmacy at Midtown.com. TJ and his team are looking for the opportunity to provide you with great services, including compounding, home delivery, and a whole lot more. If you're looking for a great pharmacy that'll take care of all of your needs, including wellness classes, including health, and more, that's the pharmacy at Midtown. Call them at 205-579-9933. If you're looking for a great pharmacy, you need to try the pharmacy at Midtown. That's the pharmacy at Midtown, pharmacy at Midtown.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A nice warm up today. The sky partly sunny, the high 72. Becoming cloudy tonight. A good chance of showers, especially after midnight, the low 52. Tomorrow, showers ending during the morning. You could see some clearing by afternoon, the high 61. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 51 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
It's time for the Martin Houston Show. With the same hard-hitting, no-nonsense approach in which he played the game, Martin will take you inside the locker room, down on the field, and across the goal line with his in-depth analysis.
Into the Martin Houston Show. I got a little something for you this morning. Someone just reminded me of this. Robert asked us X about the playoffs. Let me see what we got.
I don't care who you play, whether it's a high school team, a junior college team, a college team, much less an NFL team. When you turn the ball over 5 times, 4 interceptions, 1 for a touchdown, 3 others in field position to set up touchdowns, you ain't gonna beat anybody I just talked about. Anybody. All right? And that was a disgraceful performance, in my opinion. We threw that game. We gave it away by doing that. We gave them the friggin' game. In my opinion, that sucked. You can't turn the ball over 5 times like that. Holy crap. I don't know who the hell we think we are when we do something like that. Unbelievable. 5 turnovers. One of them, we've thrown 4 interceptions for touchdowns this year. That might be an NFL record. That's pitiful. I mean, it's absolutely pitiful to perform like that. Pitiful. What's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
I'm sorry. Kennington and X coming off of what we did, what Auburn did, that last little bit right there where he said playoffs. What was that? You talking about the playoffs? Man, I just hope we can win a game. And that's what I'm hoping for this Saturday. X, I tossed it to you and Kennington to talk about this game plan defensively. How bad was that?
Kennington, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, just baffling, I think, to your point. Offensive line that has been beaten down. You mentioned they're down to their 6th through 10th wide receiver. Offensive line, again, has given up a score record in sacks, bottom in the country in tackles for loss. And the defensive line, there wasn't a game plan to load up the front and put pressure on their offensive line and put pressure on their run game. It's like Oklahoma always had a numbers advantage on the offensive line. They obviously out-physical Alabama at the line of scrimmage. They were getting them out of their gaps. The linebackers weren't filling their holes. Players were running to the second level untouched. And it was kind of interesting to gauge the defense's performance because for how bad as they got gashed in the first half, they only gave up 10 points. I know there was a lot of time of possession things that swayed the first half in Oklahoma's favor. They controlled the game. But 10 points in the second half, some things went away from it, obviously, in the second half of the offensive turnovers. But you just feel like if they could have just kind of controlled the game a little bit more, forced a few more third down stops, put a little bit more pressure on Oklahoma, they would have given the offense a couple of more possessions and maybe they would have figured some things out. But really confusing game plan also coming out by Kane Womack and very, very eerily similar to the Vanderbilt game plan as well.
Yeah, we act like we were. Go ahead, Eric. Go. I'm sorry. I'm being patient.
We talk about it, and I've seen people say, "Oh, well, the defense only gave up X amount of points." Blah blah blah. If it hadn't been for they were going to run the ball down our throats. The difference would have been instead of 260 yards rushing, they would have had 350 yards rushing because we weren't doing anything to stop it. Nothing. They were down. Their top 5 wide receivers going into that game. They lost number 6 during the course of that game, and we decided to stay in a 3-3. We made 0 adjustment, and then when your inside linebacker gets hurt, one of the captains, one of the leaders of this team, instead of making any adjustment, putting more guys in the box, you leave it the same. And they decided to pick them. Jackson Arnold, 31 carries for 151 yards. That is absolutely embarrassing. Cam Newton didn't do that to us. Jaden Daniels didn't do that to us in that way. That wasn't big plays from the quarterback run. That was a running back taking the ball like a running back, like everybody wants to call Jalen Milroe, and pounding it down our throats, and we did absolutely nothing to stop it.
They ran Wildcat, Kennington, even though it was their starting quarterback. They put a Wildcat formation in, and here's what they did. They saw the numbers, and they said, if he doesn't adjust, we will not change our mind. We will run this till the cows come home. And here's what they did. They not only did they run the Wildcat, they had some creativity with it. And watch this. Where we kept running our running back up the middle, if we wanted to run Jalen, we should have ran it the same play that they were running, Kennington. They would let the running back go to the outside or fake a toss sweep or anything that would make Alabama's aggressive flow defense run out, and then Arnold would hesitate, and then he would pick his gap. But he was running a dive. That was a quarterback dive or Wildcat dive all night long because we were just pursuing. And I told you I talked to the defense coordinator, and he said a lot of people think it was just because of Lawson's physicality that hurt us when he went out. It was also, go back and watch Jefferson. When they would fake it, he was gone. He was pursuing so fast, his speed actually ended up hurting us. So, Kenny.
Yeah, and then, another play that sticks out of my mind, you're talking about, just being out of position and just like aggressively pursuing it. The one run play, it was an explosive run where they blitzed Devontae Jackson, another defensive back, and they just completely overran it. And the running back explodes to the second level. Just kind of plays like that where it's like they're trying to bring pressure in these other ways. There was another play where Devontae Smith comes on a blitz from a pretty far ways away. Oklahoma picks it up. There was no pressure on Jackson Arnold. He escapes out. I do agree on the quarterback power plays up the middle, which is ironic because that's pretty much all that Alabama scored on LSU was those kind of dive plays where the running back acts as a lead blocker and Miller runs behind them to penetrate the defense. Didn't see a lot of that on Saturday either. But, Oklahoma, they had a game plan that, was simple, but it was effective. Again, they were able to stay ahead of the James because Alabama didn't have any tackles for loss in the first half, so there really wasn't any pressure on Oklahoma to adjust what they were doing, and they were able to kind of control the game from that aspect. So disappointing from the defense. They did, to their point, play a little bit better in the second half, but it really didn't matter all that much in the grand scheme of the game.
Yeah, we've got J-Rob joining us on Empowerment Trade Solutions Hotline. How you doing this morning, J-Rob?
Hey, guys. Thank you for that, Martin. That's the first time I've laughed since last Saturday. Man, I was laughing like you. I couldn't stop. Hey, that Dez Bryant catch and that call were that was two about alike. I don't know if X remembers the Dez Bryant non-catch call against Green Bay in the playoffs, but that was terrible. I mean, those are two of the worst calls in the history of football for me. But there's plenty of blame to go around, guys. It's not just Jalen. Everybody wants to try to blame him. I mean, that team out-physicaled us. We dropped passes. We couldn't punt the ball. We threw interceptions. I mean, we just couldn't do anything right. I mean, they were ready to play against Alabama. They already had our number because Oklahoma has a winning record against Alabama, and we just weren't prepared anyway. We're the worst adjusting team in college football. I mean, we don't make any adjustments ever at halftime or any time. And it's just, I know I sound like I'm griping. I'm not off the bandwagon.
You got every right to gripe.
I'm just speaking the truth, guys. I'm disappointed. I'm hurt. And I'm interested to hear what you guys got to say for the rest of the show. But thank you again, Martin, for that little laugh. Y'all have a good day. And roll tide anyway.
Roll tide anyway. Hey, ain't that right? All right, J-Rob, we appreciate you calling in. We're going to get to break, and when we come back on the other side, Philip will get to you, and we'll put the finishing touches on this sad Monday. We'll be back
Tide
after this.
100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We have an accident Highway 82 eastbound between Old Montgomery Highway and Bradley Road. And we have some long-term road construction 15th Street southbound at 2nd Avenue. And we have...
But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
Taco Casa, quality, taste, and value under the biggest cactus in town. They've been doing it the right way each and every day for 50 years and counting. If you're looking for a great option for lunch and or dinner, then you need to check out Taco Casa. Taco Casa, and while you're there, don't forget to get a big glass of that sweet tea.
Enjoy free shipping to your home on purchases over $25. Your new Academy Sports and Outdoor store is located at 4610 U.S. Highway 280 in Birmingham.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. We have Kenny Smith III of The Athletic joining us as he does on Monday. Before we get back in the conversation, we have Philip on the line. How you doing this morning, Philip?
Well, I'm making it. I survived. I just want to say one thing about preparation. You know, you'll after a loss like that, you know, the popular thing for people to say is we just weren't prepared. We just weren't prepared. But I just wonder if that maybe is not the term to use. We either did not prepare, or you can only prepare so much with this team, or they don't have anything to prepare with.
You know, here's what I think it is. I should have found this clip. In the words of Mike Tyson, everybody has a plan till they get punched in the mouth. Philip, and we had a game plan, and Oklahoma came out, Vanderbilt came out, and Tennessee in the second half came out and punched us in the mouth. And we had no answer. Right. That's what it is. This team has as much talent. It's not as talented as some of as far as mature talent, it's not as mature as the other teams, Philip, that Saban
not at all.
Had. And that's what you get with a team like this. You get ups, high highs, and low lows. And if you see that's what we have this year. You got anything else, Philip, before we get out of here?
Well, you know, Auburn's going to come out with the exact same plan that Oklahoma had. I wish Alabama would actually run that offense. I think Alabama could run that exact offense to a T. Come out with the slow, sort of delayed handoffs or keepers, and I think Alabama would have success, but they're not going to do that.
The coach has to be able to call it, Philip. And Sheridan, there's a question mark. This is not the guy he wanted. Grubb was his guy. Maybe we assumed he knew more than he did. Thanks, Philip. Yeah, I mean, that Philip bring up a couple good points, but you know,
is that comparable? Real quick, is that comparable to Saban's first year when he had Applewhite? It wasn't the guy that he wanted. It was the guy he ended up with.
I would say in a lot of ways, yes. I mean,
just a
the biggest thing for me, Kennington, is the inability to that strategy-wise, we're good. I think if we have a good game plan and everything, we can execute on it. But if the other team makes a tactical adjustment or they've changed during the week, then we don't have the ability to make tactical changes, Kenny.
Yeah,
we just don't adjust. Whatever we came in with, that's what we're going to ride with.
Right, 100%. And that's what
about that. I asked the defense coordinator. He said sometimes it's because the coach thinks that the players aren't executing, and if they execute, then it will work. And so they refuse to throw away what they worked on all week. Well, this one, the hard part for me, Kennington, is simply that we came in with a run-based stopping defense against a team that had no wide receivers, and we did not adjust. Here's the question I have, Kennington, and this probably shocks a lot of people. Now, I do not blame Jalen Milroe for this game at all. I think I think this was a complete butt whooping for the entire program at Alabama. And if we don't respond, it's going to throw back this class, this program, if we don't win Saturday big time. As high as we were last Friday, we'll be even lower next Sunday. But here's the question. Should Ty Simpson have gotten a chance for at least one series at some point Saturday?
I would say no. I don't know what that was going to accomplish. I mean, at what point would they have put him down 24-3?
No. I'm talking about the game. Yeah, no. Let me tell you why I think it would have helped Jalen. Have you seen Bryce Young since he got benched?
Yeah, he has looked.
Have you seen how he's played the last 4 games? Huh?
He has looked like another quarterback.
He looks like he did in college.
Huh?
Yeah.
He looks like the Alabama version.
Yeah.
Of himself.
But if he never gets benched, that doesn't happen. And it's not the benching, it's the seeing the game. It's the and I'm not saying that you don't or you do, but I'm telling you, I was as close to wanting to see Ty, and I actually sent it to Simeon. Man, it may be time to give Ty a series just to let Jalen settle down. And it wasn't all Jalen. I'm not saying it was Jalen, but I remember Jalen Hurts when he was playing, but when he got benched and got to watch the game, from that point on, he's been a different quarterback.
Yep.
Because sometimes it just helps to see it from the sideline again. I don't know. That was just my question.
I love Jalen, and I think this is a situation, and it's not him. I think it is this program, at this point, the fans, all this stuff. I don't know if he should go to the NFL after this year, but maybe a new change of scenery. As you said, we saw what that did for Hurts. I ain't gonna let folks slide like I did with Hurts with the rhetoric. If he becomes successful, if that's what happens, but I think maybe I don't know what it is. I love both of those guys and the way they play and their attitude and everything like that. But
I love Jalen, and I'm not saying Jalen should have been benched, but I did go, man, maybe he needs to see it from the sideline and maybe he can pick up something. Some coaches get lucky when quarterbacks get hurt like Florida did. Some coaches get lucky, Anyway, it was just interesting. What are your thoughts on this Auburn game, Kennington?
What I said to start the show, one of those games where I don't think the result is going to surprise me either way. Auburn's obviously going to come out guns blazing, trying to get to a bowl game, trying to avenge last year's loss. They were able to hurt Alabama on the ground last year. I expect them to try to hurt them in the same way this year. To this point about Jalen Milroe and Ty Simpson, if those struggles from the Oklahoma game bleed over into the Auburn game early, how much of a leash do you think Jalen would have for mistakes against Auburn on Saturday? Is the question that I would have off of that question.
Not much. I would say that they make a change if he continues that struggle. Tell me where you can find you and what you're going to be writing on this week. We didn't talk about the basketball.
Yeah. Obviously huge basketball week coming up, so we'll be on top of that. Really going to dive deep into, kind of how Alabama's football got to this point, doing a little bit of a deep dive on the program, so be looking for that later on.
All right. Listen, I do not think that Ty should have won the job. Ty should have been the starter and became the starter because he played well. But I was at the point where you may have to give a change of scenery, at least a series after the back-to-back picks. I thought they would make a change. But they're going to live and die with Jalen, and I would ride Jalen too, but I still probably would have said, hey, man, we need to take a break. We didn't. It didn't turn out the way we wanted it. It wasn't Jalen's fault. This was a complete beat down. Alabama was buried by Oklahoma in every facet of the game, from the top to the bottom. We'll talk about it more with DC on tomorrow. That's Xavier. That's Kennington Smith III. Check him out on The Athletic. That's SkinnyKenny _ on the ads. I'm Martin Houston. Remember this, trust in the Lord always, lean not your own understanding, all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Roll Tide, everybody. We'll catch you on tomorrow.
It's a